is Chair of RDC. Mr. Tahi, could you do the roll call, please?
Chair, this is roll call for Resource and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council. Regular meeting Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021 at 10 a.m. Roll call. Honorable Ricky Nez.
Delegate Rick Nez is present.
Rick Nez is present. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Honorable Key Allen Begay. Honorable Key Allen Begay. Honorable Herman M. Daniels.
Good morning. I'm here, present.
Herman M. Daniels present. Honorable Mark A. Freeland.
Good morning. Delegate Freeland's on. Got
Mark, Delegate Freeland is present. Honorable Wilson Stewart Jr.
Present.
Wilson Stewart Jr. is present. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr.
I'm present.
Thomas Walker Jr. is present. Honorable Key Allen Begay. Chair, you have 5 members available, which constitute a quorum. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. We're on the invocation on our agenda. Honorable Stewart, would you do the prayer, please?
Oh, good morning, Shania. Again, RDC member Shania Kedosh. Good morning, for our committee, Mr. Tahi, good morning. And all those listening with our meeting this morning. Heavenly Father God, we come to you this morning, ask you for your blessings. Thank you for this wonderful day that you have created for us this November 3rd, and ask you to bless us and our leadership. Heavenly Father God, 24th Navajo Nation Council, our president, vice president, our Chief Justice, Joanne Jane, all of our judges and prosecutors and court advocates and court clerks, and Father God, and ask about all of our executive branch employees as well, from the executive legislative branch as well, Father God, from the custodians all the way to the division directors and supervisors, Father God. Be with them, Father God, and guide them as they do the daily activities, Father God, daily planning, Father God, for the nation, the government, and communities that we serve, Father God, and that they help us represent, Father God. I ask you to bless them like that at this time for us, Father God. I ask you to bless all of our Navajo Nation community members, Father God. Those that are struggling with an illness, are struggling with a sickness, Father God, you take care of them for me at this time, Father God. Watch them, guide them, Father God. Continue to keep them on the straight path, Father God. And Father God, actually will bless our health and our well-being. Continue to keep us healthy and motivated, Father God, to continue to do the work that we do each and every day, Father God. I ask you to bless our children, Father God, those in school, Father God, at this time, those doing homeschooling as well, Father God, and those that have decided to drop out and help them find their way back, and Father God, to find the education for themselves, and Father God, and seek that knowledge, and Father God. I ask you bless all of our practitioners, Father God, our medicine men and women, Father God, our roadmen, Father God, and our pastors and preachers, Father God. Continue to pray for us and ask you for guidance for us, Father God. I ask you bless them, Father God, their songs, their prayers, paraphernalias they use each and every day, Father God. I ask you to bless them like that for us at this time, Father God. And I ask you, Father God, to also watch over all of our livestock, Father God, those that we own, Father God. And we take care of each and every day, and all of yours in your animal kingdom, Father God, from the smallest creature to the largest creature you created, Father God. I ask you bless them, take care of our vehicles, Father God, get us to and from our destination in safety, and continue to keep our paths clear, Father God. May we travel in safety each and every day, Father God, what we may do, whatever we may travel, Father God, with our community members and for our jobs, Father God, and our families, Father God. In this time in November, Father God, being Native American Month, Father God, Native American Indigenous Month, also Thanksgiving, Father God. I ask you to bless all these families out there, military personnel, Father God, are going to be away from their families at this time. You bless them for me at this time. Keep them in safety, Father God, overseas in the United States, Father God. And those also, Father God, take care of them for me at this time. And all of our elders, Father God, those in the nursing homes, Father God, watch over them for us at this time, Father God. And Heavenly Father God, Forgive my shortcomings, my shortfalls, Father God, where I've taken your name in vain, where I have thought something wrong. Forgive me at this time, Father God. Have pity upon me, Father God. And these things I say in your Holy Son's name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Vice Chair Walker, I believe that Chairman
Mr.
Nez.
Tahi,
Oh, there you are.
I'm back here, so got cut off here. I don't know what happened, but I appreciate the prayer. Thank you very much. We all need prayers. You never know what is before us. So we do have that prayer. Anil sol khatsadil zindon hinan shidel ego. I don't hit an edo but sadil zindonat anidan lenigi. So he has it 7 khatsadins and even our families too. So thank you very much. Announcements, Mr. Tahi, what announcements do you have for us?
Chair, members of RDC, after today's meeting, you have a work session with Navajo Telecommunications Regulatory Commission on proposed regulations at Twin Arrows Casino in Flagstaff today and tomorrow. The session is broken out into 4 parts. Then on Monday, November 8th, you have a leadership meeting and executive session with the Department of Justice Water Rights Unit. On Tuesday, November 9th, you have a leadership meeting to do a construction tour of the Navajo Gallup Water Supply Project. On Wednesday, you have your regular RDC meeting. On Thursday is Veterans Day, so Navajo Nation will be off. Then on Friday, November 12th, you have a 9 a.m. work session with the Department of Economic Development and others on proposed amendments on the Navajo Nation business site lease. Chair, that's my announcements for RDC. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any announcements?
Mr. Chair, this is Delegate Herman Dan.
Honorable Daniels, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Kudo, Arenda Kudo, Telecom, Arenda Kudo Shake, Arashana, Kudo Chair, Arenda his staff, Kudo, Arenda Kudo Hela, Nita, Hishima, Kudo, Arenda Noshplagi, Kudo Shake, good morning. Arenda Kudo, Sutsilla, I can't Kudo that citizen. They Hain Z Kudo, Ishin Kudo that DJ Donana, it's Kari Wishan. Den any edo les kudo ado nana kudo sin denil zendo les kudo ado kudo ngeita ngeita da nation November 5th ya ngeita 20 task force. We're going to be going on a tour ngeita we'll jet tour down kato les ngeita into Copper Canyon and onto Nakai Canyon. When we did the tour, the RDC, when we went out to Paiute Mesa, it down me caught on this. They quadrilateral agreement, right down the base of the Latina Hangata, Ebeta is Kodo Adolena, Kodo Betana, that I get to Kodo Adole, but Banate Edo Asman Yesi, the Conway Task Force again. So the great parcel B in these Edo list. And at the same time, we're going to be looking at the proposed road change. So that's going to be happening on Friday in the great 20 Task Force tour in parcel B. Yesterday, I had a meeting with Navajo Nation EPA director Adonana Nagaita Peabody, and also with Shanto in regards to a tour that's going to be happening at Black Mesa at the Peabody site, Peabody coal mine area site. And we're going to be looking at the facilities at Sunmeligi. So, in Hubby, the Hada in heat of Hash Kododa Shinant Anoshenigi, and the Radam, Kinda Street at Nas, Ada Nail Edolish, I don't airstrip the Shinto Ada Nail Edolish, and a cold silo. So, it's a tour these net on Litico. So, Haiti, she Navajo Nation, she could have eaten a wheel late on even she Anaz Mildon Lespedon Litico. It's a tour each net on it. So, on the night next week. They only spent $100. So it is also a announcement, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
November 9th, what time, Honorable Daniels?
The tour is going to start around 8:30, but when the agenda itinerary, when it comes out, I'll forward you the document, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you for that. It'll be on a Tuesday then, November 9th. Honorable members of RDC, any other announcements?
Chairman, Mr. Chair, I'll go after my brother.
Honorable members of RDC, any announcements?
Chairman.
Any other announcements?
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. Colleagues, staff, good morning. Thank you for that prayer. Chairman and my colleagues, I wanted to ask for a moment of silence and for some thoughts and some prayers for the family of Miss Lydia George, who was a former chapter official at Herfino. We lost her over the weekend, and we want to send our prayers and our condolences to the George and Bigay family out at Herfino. I just got word of this a few days ago, but anytime we lose a leader, we always pay our respects and for the service that they did. And our thoughts and prayers are with Miss George and the Bigay family. Also, Shantai, I don't know if we had taken this into consideration as well for our leadership meeting with telecommunications, but Mr. Vicente also lost his father too. I don't know if he's going to be there or if we should maybe, I don't know. I just want to pay respects to him and his family, or pay our respects. I don't know if he's going to be there or if he's back at work or anything, but that's a huge loss anytime you lose a family member, in this case a parent. I don't know if he will be participating in this discussion starting tomorrow. But just a couple of announcements. We are still hauling wood out of my area. We hauled this past Sunday 9 truckloads of cedar and pinon out at Mount Taylor, and we're going to continue to do so until we can't haul anymore. And I made some deliveries yesterday in Crown Point to some elders, and I want to thank Crown Point chapter and all the chapters that stepped up in helping us in this effort. Our officials and our staff, PEP. It's a lot of work, yes, but it's good work. It's going to a good cause. But like I said, I'm going to make a delivery to a former council delegate too, who is an elder. Be making that to him here real soon as well. So, just a couple of questions related to maybe a moment of silence, and then to Mr. Vicente's situation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Honorable Freeland. And with the telecommunications work session that we're going to have tomorrow, Thursday and Friday, I would think that Mr. Vicente would send us an email to let us know if he's going to be there, because he should be there. But if there's a loss in the family, perhaps Mr. Tahi can reach out to him and let us know as soon as possible, whether we should reschedule this work session for another date, or continue with the work session without him, Mr. Tahi. And as for the moment of silence, whether it's a family member or an elected former official, we have these moments of silence. So at this time, at the request of Honorable Freeland, let's have a moment of silence for Miss George. So, Kashindole. Thank you. And honorable members of RDC, do you have any other announcements?
Mr. Chair, this is Delegate Herman Daniels again.
Okay. Honorable Daniels, go ahead.
Yes, Mr. Chair, our condolence goes out to the family, the brother, Delegate Freeland, did I hear the work session at Twin Arrows is going to be today and tomorrow? I believe that's what I heard from Mr. Tahi. So, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Yes, Honorable Daniels, we have a planned work session that was approved for the 4th and the 5th, which is Thursday and Friday. So, any other announcements, questions? None. Koshila, we'll go to number 2 on the agenda, recognizing guests and visiting officials. We'll always have introductions for all that are on the call. Let's start with honorable members of RDC. Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Yes, Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. 지난다 또 한달 시기 근데 시기 아도 그다 있잖게 뒤치 야트에서를 Thomas Walker Jr. edition we city to hadling to nana hasanda to second get a agitation بالفداويسو إبنا شاكو كج بيشمان سأنيا سندن بينج كنت أكو أدو دو نشني إيشين هنشني دو بين بتقول باشين توتصوني تشيدات نا تديش كيجني داشنال كنت أويا تنشني كو أدو Resource Development Committee شاهو كويس كان ناشين ko kelne da stagi asian nation you ko ba hen so it do ko so dancing digi do shige honorable steward yeah ko hot so zumbe hinzi ado ko kanani shinan da ko ya ashi kanadi to na da dil ni ku go shin ela to ska na to na kis ka to da ne cho hata e hol ko Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr. Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr. Press star 6. Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr. text us. He's on the call, so we'll come back to him. Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Chair, thank you very much. I don't know. Should Herman Daniels Jr. I don't know. It's a little bit Annie. There's a fun that's a as got that's another. I don't who had Lenny. That's a say. Utai the Nanslan Conre or Z Tosha Tohotaki can Ado Inta A Natus Anipanas. Utani Chendam. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, good morning, colleagues, staff. Yananante, Shay Mark Freeland this year, Dofinigi Tutsoni, Slolokia, Ani, A Buses Chin, Sanjakina, Ada Che, Tana Bethany, Edisonella, Tis Osikadi, Nasha. I have 8 chapters out of Eastern Navajo Agency, out of the 23 others as Eastern representative on RDC. Chapters that I represent on the council, AGA. Sis Osika, Digi, Crown Point, though, Nahadish Gish, a Dalton Pass, Ado Te I Standing Lock, Ado Jada Aditin, a Vicente, El Gaidan, a Lake Valley, Chatkai, a White Rock, Ado Hanatlegi, Herfano, and then Naiza, a Naizi. So, Edia Chairman, good morning to one and all, and thank you for the acknowledgement. I just let the officials know at Herfano of your condolences as well. Thank you, brothers, colleagues, and staff. It's a huge loss for the Herfano community, and I really want to ask for your continual prayers for Herfano, especially because Herfano is my largest chapter, and Herfano, unfortunately, has taken the largest loss of COVID, and it's such a will continue to pray for the community in the chapter, but they've taken a real large hit on the COVID situation up in Herfano. So, Ediasnata, thank you to one and all.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Stewart.
Oh, good morning again, Shania. Chairman Nez, Arashajat Yaja, Vice Chairman Walker, Arashanai Castle, Yacht A. Bene, Dosh Mayaja Kata, James Tahi, Yacht A. Shaya Wilson, C. Stewart Jr., and Shia. Though it was on the A. and Shen, I just cut you, but she's touching the shade up between the Chanella. I don't awkward hotel, so that the best one's on it. So, twins a little bit both. I don't need you. She. Deal chaos and a Beshmas Anishla for Defense Agency that represent SHF for the Resource Development Committee. And just say and as part of an announcement that want to say congratulations to those contestants, Navajo contestants that made it to the Turquoise Circuit Finals this weekend. We have Mel Racer Tara Seaton and my niece and my nephew Michael and Bailey Bates that made it to represent Navajo Nation again in the Turquoise Circuit. And Shania, I sent you that announcement on my niece over the weekend, and that women's championship, she placed 4th in overall. So they're going to have another championship in December 25th, and she was only one of, I think, 4 Navajos that were a part of that women's championship this past weekend in Vegas. So again, that shows that our Navajo athletes are moving up in the sport that whatever they choose to do, especially the sport of rodeo. And to see our female contestants like that participate and move up in that level, that's really neat. I was very proud to know that they were a part of that event. So again, thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Stewart. We're happy. We're also proud of our Navajo athletes in any endeavors. So if you have for that announcement. Honorable Kealan Begay Jr. Okay, we'll give him an opportunity to introduce himself shortly. Shay Harrick Mezin, she Homasan Snow, Zay Kachin, Basha Chain, San Habitin the Shado Ki Ani Edashan, Alahot Dimension, Astrago chapters, Banashin, Shigay, Hogback, San Juan, and Anizar Upper Fruin, Burnham and Newcomb. Welcome, everybody. We have on the call with us this morning, Honorable Otto Soul.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the Resources Development Committee. aro so in shia na kaidnen chnido na kapma ba shin look neda shi chedo tsina jini shinala aron da tonnes zri bijwas an chnido kdo aja an chnido na so yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you. RDC staff, Mr. Tahi.
Good morning, the chair, members of RDC. My name is Rodney Tahi. I'm the legislative advisor to RDC. I'm Kiani and Senja Kine, and I'm originally from Steamboat, Arizona. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you. Ms. Woody.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the RDC. Yat in hit schnido le she Teresa Woody and Shero Topa Hanshno the Bethlehem the Bashishin. Here on it, I should chedo, Tina Janeta Shinala, I don't le who yet they got Steamboat, Arizona, Ada in Nasha. Nana quiet a yan national sawa zanaki legislative assistant a yan ado here and his schneedle and also Colin Dashagi Adoshiaj, Mr. Stewart and General Hatanadins and the here la I don't journal here that off Mr. Chair back here.
Thank you, Ms. Woody. I don't say that it Ms. Khan.
Yat A Resources and Development Committee members. Ado yat Besh Banta sa Anigi Danoshinigi, if you were on the line also. She Mariana Khan, da Shijane, Done and the Shinigi A Toyhead leaning Nishle. But Annie Basha's chin, Lash Che da Shiche, Senja Kinna da Shanala. Ado Ahead and Sago, Shiaj, so Zin Behenzi. Ado very, very heartfelt. Thank you very much. As always, I always enjoy the prayers. Makes us a family. Mr. Chair, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Khan. From Speaker's Office, Ms. Yako.
Hi, good morning, Chairman Nez and members of the Resources and Development Committee. My name is Melinda Arvizo-Siaco, Legislative Staff Assistant for the Office of the Speaker here in Winter Rock, Arizona. Thank you for having us on the call today. Yeah.
Thank you. We have from BIA, Acting Regional Director, Ms. Arvizo.
Good morning, and Yad Bina to Chairman Nez, Vice Chairman Walker, and to the members of the RDC committee. Angela Arvizo, the Deputy Regional Director for Trust Services Navajo Region, and currently the Acting Regional Director, BIA. Thank you. Back to you, Chairman Nez.
Thank you. Ms. Curley?
Good morning, Chairman Nez, RDC members, everyone on this call. Cheryl Curley, BIA, Navajo Region Tribal Liaison. Yeah.
Thank you. From the President's Office, Mr. Filford.
Good morning, Chair and members of Resource and Development Committee and everybody on the line. This is Executive Staff Assistant Filford, David Filford from OPVP.
Thank you, Mr. Filford. Yeah, thank you for being on the call from the President's Office. Department of Justice. Anybody else on the call that wishes to introduce themselves?
Good morning. This is Rowena Cheremiah from Minerals Department.
Good morning, Ms. Cheremiah. Thank you for joining the RDC call. Anybody else?
Good morning. This is Scott Nowak from Paradox Midstream.
Could you restate your name, sir?
Scott Nowak with Paradox Midstream.
Thank you. Anybody else on the call?
Good morning.
morning.
This is Veronica Blackhat with Navajo Nation Department of Justice.
Morning, Ms. Blackhat. Next.
Good morning. This is Jonathan Perry, Vicente Chapter President and member of the Eastern Navajo Dene Against Uranium Mining.
Honorable Perry. Thank you for being on the call. Anybody else?
Good morning. This is Leanne Roy with Navajo DOT.
Good morning. Anybody else?
Morning, Ivan Vicente with Ranch and Eastern Land Management.
Morning, Mr. Vicente.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me? This is Rita
Yes,
Captain. I'm calling from Crown Point chapter. I'm the president there. Good to be with you all this morning. Thank you.
Morning, Ms. Captain. Welcome. Anybody else?
Good morning. My name is Karen Bedoni. I work with Navajo EML.
Good morning, Ms. Bedoni. Next. None. Hakpushila. So welcome to the RDC meeting. Next on the agenda, we have approval of the agenda. Mr. Tai, could you read the agenda, please?
Chair, members of RDC, the agenda reads as follows. Resource and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council, regular meeting, Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021, 10 a.m. Presiding, Honorable Ricky Nez, Chairperson, Honorable Thomas Walker Jr., Vice Chairperson. Location via telecommunications. Number 1, call the meeting to order, roll call, invocation, and announcements. Number 2, recognizing guests and visiting official. Number 3, reviewing and approving the agenda. Number 4, reviewing and approving the journals, October 27th, 2021. Number 5, receiving reports. A, report from the Division of Economic Development on the Basha's lease agreement for Telecom, Pinyon, and Window Presenter J.T. Willie, Executive Director. 6, old business, none. 7, new business. Legislation number 0214-21. Sponsor, Honorable Mark A. Freeland. B, legislation number 0217-21. Sponsor, Honorable Mark A. Freeland. C, legislation number 0218-21. Sponsor, Honorable Raymond Smith Jr. D, legislation number 0219-21. Sponsor, Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. E, legislation number 0220-21. Sponsor, Honorable Mark A. Freeland. F, approving a leadership meeting with Navajo ALM Reclamation Department on the 2 funds management plans for the recommended date of Thursday, December 9th at 9 a.m. G, approving a leadership meeting with DYNB organization, BIA, DNR, DOA, and Navajo Nation Land Department on the limited tenant sheet units for the recommended date of Friday, December 10th at 9 a.m. 8, close of meeting, announcements, and adjournment. Chair, that is the agenda read into the record. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Allen.
Honorable Begay, thank you. Sitzilla. Second by?
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Everybody that's on this call, please put your phones on mute. Would appreciate it. Thank you very much. Honorable members of RDC, are there any comments or questions on the agenda? Any amendments, additions, deletions? Then Hakushila will go ahead and vote on the agenda as is. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote, sir?
Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Kealan Begay Jr.
Chairman Kealan votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels.
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland.
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Yeah. Number 4 on the agenda, reviewing and approving journals. Ms. Woody sent us these journals for October 27, 2021. But let's establish a motion and a second, Shananda.
Chairman, I'll motion Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, thank you. Second by
Stewart.
Second. Honorable Stewart, thank you. Any comments or questions on the agenda? On the journals, I'm sorry. None? Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay?
Chairman Kealan votes green.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Number 5 on the agenda, reports. A, report from the Division of Economic Development on the Basha lease agreement for Telecom, Pinon, and Window Rock. Mr. J.T. Willie will be the presenter. Mr. Willie?
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, you may proceed. You have 20 minutes.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, honorable members of the 24th Navajo Nation Council Resources and Development Committee. My name is J.T. Willie. Adonai Etkapaha in Shinotachini Epashin, Shinhi Ideshiro Kia Ani Dashanale, Aroshe Bas Anet ICA Nasharo Dikon, Division of Economic Development, Division Director Celine Aro Yat Edole Dikon Doba Haynes and Dikon Nahanda Nishigi. Just would like to say thank you very much for the report. I also would like to extend my appreciation to Legislative Advisor Mr. Rodney Tahi for coordinating this report today with me, as well as preparing some additional information to come from today's report. As noted on the agenda and approved by honorable members of the RDC, the Division of Economic Development has prepared a report. It's going to be a verbal report. I'll also email it to Mr. Tahi, who can distribute it to honorable members in regards to the Basha's lease. I know this has been of some concern for the Navajo people, as well as the consumer, and also with honorable leaders of the Navajo Nation in regards to the leases with Bashas. And the current status of the lease changeover is taking place within the Division of Economic Development. I am appreciative to our Shiprock Regional Business Development Office, one of our EDS located there, our senior EDS, Ms. Sally Yebany, who has been assisting me in this process to do what is known as a lease assignment to the new company that Bashas has sold to, which is Riley's. In this process, the Navajo Nation has to take a procedural step in regarding certain leases with Bashas. Because of the different statuses of leases that Bashas has, they're in different jurisdictions. So, for example, you have the leases that sit within the Navajo Nation Shopping Centers Incorporated. Those have already been completed by the corporation and have been assigned over to the new company. You have the BIA leases, which I also understand are in the process for assignment over to Riley's. The ones in concern for today's report is in line with the Navajo Nation lease division overseas, and those are, as noted on the agenda, with Window Delcon and Bashes. So this assignment, well, what it will do, it will carry over the responsibilities executed in each one of these documents with the corporation to the new company, Riley's. We have been in coordination with the Basha's family, with Mr. Basha, in regarding the concern for the lease changeover. And from those steps, I have been in advisement with Department of Justice on this process. And of course, Ms. Yebony at our Shiprock Regional Business Development Office is quite knowledgeable of this process, so she has been assisting in putting the packets together. So as of yesterday, we reviewed all of the 4 leases. Come to find out, the Eastern lease does not need assignment. Bashas will be working in coordination with us on getting that over for approval. All the rest, though, they require such things as supporting documentations, certificates of good standings, which we also oversee within our business regulatory letter of intent of the lease, as well as the copies of these leases. Then from there, we have to go through the procurement clearance process like we do with all of our business site leases. And therefore, Office of the Controller, particularly accounts receivable, and our Navajo Tax Commission will be processing those procurements back to us. Then from there, we will finalize the lease assignments and prepare that for DOJ review. I understand it has to go through a 5-day comment period before it becomes available to honorable members of the RDC. The intent of today's report is to highlight and prepare, and I understand, Mr. Chair, that you are aware of this assignment coming to the Oversight Committee for approval. So we're looking for that to take place within the next 2 weeks. I will be in coordination with Mr. Tahi again to get the documents ready for legislative action to carry over this final process for the lease assignment from Bashas to Riley's. I'm also happy to report that the company has taken steps to keep the branding in place, which is the Bashas brand that the Navajo people have come to be familiar with throughout the nation. We have been working with Mr. Johnny Basha, who has been very instrumental in keeping this process in place, as well as coordinating with our office on all of the particulars regarding the carryover of the lease assignment. There will be members of the current organization who will be still in place regarding concerns with the Navajo Nation and the new company Riley's. So therefore, I'm comfortable of the changeover that's taking place. And of course, as we have seen, measures of the pandemic has weighed heavily on our businesses, not only here on the Navajo Nation, but those bigger corporations outside. And so therefore, many of them take different steps and maneuvers into solidifying their businesses, whether it's procuring those businesses onto a whole different corporation, or finding steps to micro their businesses into the next coming years, just for the stability of companies. And we've seen some of the chain reactions taking place nationally. Those affect us rurally down the line. I also understand that in line with a lot of the holidays coming up, there is some influxes in the supply chain demand to the Navajo Nation, so therefore there is some delay in some products getting to store shelves, as well as also changing in price. So I also wanted to add that to my report, is that we just have to prepare once again for fluctuation in prices. I do know that honorable members bring those concerns to my attention when it comes to, like I can bring an example when price of milk or eggs changed at the local Bashas, and I was reached out and asked why this took place. Of course, a lot of those supply and demand chain reactions that happen do affect us here based off of transportation of that product to the Navajo Nation. I do understand that there has also been some holdup at the ports around the United States, particularly in Los Angeles, California, from overseas, so there will be a delay in some of those products coming to the region. the division issued a press release back on October 25th, which highlighted some of these concerns regarding the containers that haul those goods and services to the region throughout the United States and, of course, the Navajo Nation. So therefore, we're really, once again, promoting and supporting a lot of our local businesses and artisans for the upcoming holiday season. Not to say that we are going to turn clearly away from our neighboring grocery stores such as Basha's, who bring supplies, who bring food products to the Navajo people, and just to be cautious and prepared for those price changes coming down the line as we enter the holiday season. So, Mr. Chair, as I start to get some movement again with the 164 and with DOJ review of the Basha's to Riley's lease, I will have that ready for legislative action, and we'll coordinate that with Mr. Tahi once again. I do appreciate this time providing this report to honorable members of the Resources and Development Committee. Mr. Chair, I turn it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Willie. Basha's transfer to Riley. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Speaker Freeland.
Chairman
Freeland, I'm sorry.
Honorable Freeland, second by.
Here, I'll second that.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, thank you. Any comments or questions? Dr. Kiddish and Mr. Willie.
Chairman Kellen.
Honorable Kellen DeGay, go ahead.
Chairman, allow me to ask a questions. Mr. Willie. I see such a dish. The budget Basha's the brand name those two companies are they allowing it just to use it without any additional revenue to them for them utilizing the brand name Basha's on the Navajo Nation? I guess that's one question for me. Two areas, Basha's are being operated directly by the company with the Navajo Nation, and then another one through the Dene Development. And I know several times from my area, many farms and the chapters that I represent, we've been asking about getting report from them. Each of the community, a lot of time there's not much improvement, especially for the safety of the community, lighting. It's very obvious there's some exchange of these items in the parking lot. I know there was a release of a statement from Basha saying that they reinvested so millions of dollars back into the community. They then specified the areas, and that's one area that I'm asking Halit. I mean, I think this is over $100 million reinvestment. No, so my question is how much of that has been reinvested back into the community of these area, or even to the Navajo Nation. And I'd like to see their sales figures for all the Navajo Nation Bashas. Based on Ziniki, especially the inner part of the Navajo Nation. For me, there's two of them, Pinion and Chinli. Has Basha Ziki. Halanet la edik at reinvestment Niniki Koto, the Nandiniki do the community ile ye nal what ade a coco odon hinachit o you ope so ya coco Koto Aje yard and Zinigi that the revenue is declining, but now that's it. Han has ni these area of the of Basha's the supermarket the key a coco I mean my thinking is that why wasn't the Navajo Nation given an opportunity to assume their operation? That's easy don't have to lead that there's a lot of, maybe this is some of the reason. I mean, a lot of our Navajo people are shy to say that, well, I mean, they provide goods and services on the Navajo Nation, but as far as the corporation, it's still the outside world of how they deal with each other without input by the local or the government that they deal with. I saw this on the media, and I saw this on the on record. I guess the deals are done. So what's the purpose and what's the use of us to talk about it or make any statement? Because I don't need the nan linki other that conhe he had based on no linki not on no linki halet or did on hiage. Toto show that not on a lack up at the Inish, Adot a la at the Hanat on his hosnet, the Toto hit other Baha Zita, John hit the knee, took a call Halet all the 80 Koto, that I mean, how much was the Navajo Nation President's office knew about it? How much did the Speaker's office knew about it? How much did DOJ knew about it? And when were all of these had surfaced? But yet, yes, we are the government. I mean, we are the legislature of the Navajo Nation government. But the leases that we talk and what we get from the community, how much more? Employment that I mean, are they doing the fair share of paying our Navajo? I mean, how much of these will there be any changes as far as management? Is our Navajo people at their highest level in managing these particular stores? I literally heard a person say that they're eliminating employment because they're doing a lot of these self-checkout. Machines are taking over. Check cashing this ordering town and that the Bashes and Linigi Ada Hait Al Kodon Haban, so that's the case. So the new company, Yegos Navajo Nation, Yahoo Central, they're out of California, Latida, out of that, Sadiq of a Kid has Linigi, especially Navajo. I would all not, you have because on go east, will that be improved? So it either like down how long I had to travel back and you had to buy the basis of Linigi and Hasni ko that a that nen yen da kai ko that haki that set ne ba that so I think that's one thing that we really need to make a stand that a lot of these products that are being sold off the reservation, somehow they need to start displaying or being available at these bashes. It's really not much of a brand name that diabetic is the highest on the Navajo Nation. That is the door Ishiat Heki Aja to your such hold on that the no the Bayada here. The core a quacky key the nebit and all koto Ishi to Ilinigito or the Toto Ilido Lende that 8 or Iliniki 8 era. Nabayat Heki, but the people of the Navajo Nation doesn't have a choice but to buy a lot of these products just because that they're accessible, they're low price, but yet it's not really good for their body. But what are the Kodon Hitman, Linigi, Kodo, Yego, Tato, baby Chanahu Yidna, a conhead Agoshi, a Tata Zeta, Dodit, and Dakh, but yet we're selling a lot of these products without Heki to the Navajo people. And then the other one that I have a concern of is Kodo. I'm not in the position to not expand their service on the Navajo Nation, but I think somehow there's always a word in the corporate world where it says social responsibility. Products. I know that the consumer buy the product, but they throw out these container, the packages. Because that they conquered not all you done currently chadash how then it all you a trash at a ye. Halit other sato or a chichito, they stick at all you a layer taho here. We get us the package and give the head off sato, dick at the Nandiniki, solid waste at Niki, that sato, being he caught to that's upon it. So the legal test case, I know a lot of these is our responsibility as well, as far as the Navajo Nation government. But yet the point is that they make money off of the Navajo Nation, but yet they leave behind a lot of these some social problems, some areas that I believe that they have some responsibility in, and I think that a lot of these things should have been in their contract or their agreement. If you're talking about reinvestment in the community, there's no proper lighting, and then there's a lot of people just roaming around in the area. There's no proper securities. Chairman, so she ordinate that she done that and don't hit at any baby like it to be on record that these are some of the concerns that I have and what I hear at the local level. So if you now could do it Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Gay. Mr. Willie, your response, sir?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Shanai Honorable Kiel Migay for the response and feedback. Going back to the first remark in regards to the brand name, the overall consensus of Basha as to what I've been privy to and to what I have seen in publications as well as statements coming from the corporation, that the name, the brand name is to stay with the company as they advance forward. The details of that particular logo usage, I have not been privy to the overall consensus of how that agreement or terms are working out as far as brand leasing or any sort of royalty from brand management from the Basha Corporation to Riley's. But what I have seen is the overall intention of the brand is because of its 90-year presence in the state of Arizona, and of course the Navajo Nation. So as I have seen, the agreement to keep the name in place was for the benefit of consumer recognition to the Basha's store locations, and particularly those located on the Navajo Nation. I am in contact with Mr. Basha, and that's a conversation that I will add to a discussion, and I can provide feedback when we do have the active legislation before honorable members on any sort of the utilizing of the brand name and what those terms might be if it's allowed to be disclosed, and I'll provide that to honorable members of the Resources and Development Committee. The overall company has been an anchor tenant in most of these locations throughout Navajo Nation. Telecom Shopping Center, I understand there is some concerns regarding the overall infrastructure located there, from the parking to the storefront facilities, and I can speak to other locations as well. This again, I will coordinate a discussion with the lease holder of Telecom Shopping Center on those concerns, as well as also how we can address those areas that are brought up in regarding consumer safety within these parking lots throughout the Navajo Nation. It is understandable that there is some heavy loitering that takes place in most of these shopping center locations. There are concern for our relatives when they visit these locations because of them being approached, or even individuals consuming, or also those selling goods in the parking lots of most of these locations. Navajo Nation Shopping Centers Incorporated has been a great partner to work with, and when we address the concerns with them regarding their locations, they're pretty well to coordinate their efforts to mitigate any of those concerns. We've also have taken those initial steps as well within the division to reach out to local law enforcement for the safety of these consumers. I can, and again, from my office, take the initiative to reach out to Telecom Shopping Center to discuss some of these concerns with them, particularly as we move forward with the advancement of the assignment of the lease for the Chinle location there in Chinle, Arizona. The other concern and address that was brought up was the reinvestment of the company into communities. The family has been very heavily promotes their reinvestments into their communities throughout the state of Arizona. I seen a document that shows an overall consensus. I have not seen anything in regards to particularly just segregating the Navajo Nation's area. In my conversation with Mr. Basha, I will request if this can be provided to us, given that they're looking to close out the deal by the end of the year with Riley's, as well as the changeover of authority to the new company incorporation, as to which the reinvestment has been with the Navajo Nation. I just now tried to look up the what is called a 10K reporting for the company to the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, or even within the state of Arizona. I couldn't find that document. A 10K form discloses the financial stability, financial literature of the corporation. It includes such things as a financial statement, balance sheets, earnings, and what have you. I don't have that information with me right now, but when I do, and it is public information, I will go through an evaluation with that, and I can provide that in a follow-up to the lease assignment when we do come back before honorable members to discuss the assignment of leases with the Bashas to Riley's company. And I'm glad that the concern has been brought up in regards to the social responsibility of the corporations. In light of that, the terminology in the corporate world is considered, or what is phrased as conscious corporations. Conscious corporations take into their initiative the insight and output and input of their services, as well as the operations management from all points of opportunity, including every employee that's located within the company, to the stakeholders, to the communities that they are invested in. Conscious corporations look at the multitude of what their actions would portray to the overall organization's benefit for the consumer. Riley's has been recognized as one of those corporations, and from my observations, Basha has done so as well. But I do understand the concern when it comes to the use of certain products, as well as also the absence of certain products within these store locations. Given that the company is looking, the new company coming in is a more wider, bigger company, they will have access to different products, and I kind of see that filtering down to the local markets on what kind of consumer goods that they carry as compared to the Basha brand, as well as the limitations of products that they also had to have. But I do want to also note that we are in a time when most of those goods or services are going to be delayed even more prior to the pandemic, when they have become available for the Navajo consumer. And I do know that it's going to take several years to catch up in regards to those goods and services being provided at the local grocery stores because of the influx of products that are coming from overseas, as well as those located within the boundaries of the United States and coming to rural America as compared to your bigger metropolis locations where the access to those goods and services, say for example Amazon, is readily available as compared to availability here on the Navajo Nation, for example. As we move towards conversations with the new company, I do have that on my to-do list to ask as to what those segregation of products will look like for us here on the Navajo Nation, and what are we going to look forward to as far as their investment as a conscious corporation into the stability and maintaining its relationship with the Navajo Nation, and more so in regards to the concerns to improve those concerns here on the nation for the benefit of the Navajo consumer. I'll add these responses as well to my report, and I am going to be in contact with Mr. Basha in the next couple of days regarding some of the assignment of the lease, and I will ask these particular questions and also provide additional feedback to honorable members of the RDC. Shania, Mr. Kiel-Migay, thank you for your feedback and your questions. I'll turn it back over to you now, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Willie. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any other comments or questions? Naidos Kiddish.
Chairman, follow up.
One at a time. Honorable Freeland, was that you?
Yes, Chairman.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman, colleagues, staff, Mr. Willie, thank you for your update and your report on the renewal of these leases, and definitely support the efforts that you all are doing, setting forth for these areas and these communities a year. So thank you for that, and I appreciate my really just comments. Had an opportunity to have a discussion with Mr. Johnny Basha, and thank you to our Mr. Nick Taylor, as well as Mr. Ray Nopa from the shopping centers. We had a discussion with Johnny Basha along with my chapter president, Capitan from Crown Point, in relation to the Crown Point store, and wanted to really we're going to continue to advocate for our store. We did ask Mr. Basha to help us with a remodeling and a facelift of the Crown Point store, and it's a good store and a lot of good vegetables and produce there, a lot of greens that I buy, and I appreciate the the freshness that they keep. That store serves as a regional hub store for not only Crown Point but surrounding communities and surrounding chapters. So I've even seen people come as far as Torreon to shop at that store. But we're very thankful that Mr. Basha and Riley's is going to keep it Basha's on the Navajo Nation, was what he indicated. This meeting, Mr. Basha. That way, there's no real any sort of ways that our people will get confused or want to keep that Basha brand on there. So we definitely appreciate that. We are looking at a potential upgrade of the Crown Point store. Mr. Basha did indicate that the Crown Point store is on the list after the Kayenta store is completed. But we would like to have your assistance, Mr. Willie, yourself, and possibly Mr. Capitan, to continue to advocate for us as well in Eastern Agency and for the Crown Point store specifically on remodeling. They did some work on the parking lot, but if we can get a facelift, and I even went as far as asking, I'll continue to ask for a Starbucks there as well. If there's a way to get a little coffee shop in the corner. There is a hospital located there. There's a university there. Even if it's a little coffee shop in the corner, that would be great. So, but good news for us is that we'll have that. We'll be having the plans for remodeling of our Crown Point store, and just want to say thank you to, of course, the RDBO and the team out there at Church Rock, Eastern RDBO, but also for your team as well in Window Rock, the executive team, and of course, thank you to Mr. Nick Taylor and Navajo Nation Shopping Centers and Mr. Nopa for coming out to Crown Point and meeting with us at Crown Point chapter, and really expressing an interest in listening and taking those concerns viably and putting them forth and setting up a call with Mr. Basha. And of course to Mr. Basha as well, Johnny Basha, his team. He's really eager and very interested in helping our Navajo people. So a big thank you to him as well. And he said he won't forget us in Crown Point. He won't forget our store. So we need to make sure that we continue to advocate. But we'll need your help, Mr. Willie, on that store as well, to help us continue to advocate and pushing that those commitments and those efforts that Mr. Basha did set forth, and working with Mr. Taylor and the shopping center team as well. So, just more of a comment and an ask, Chairman, RDC members, Nosenigi, as well as the staff. Thank you for this report, and thank you for the time, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Keelan Begay.
Chairman, again, my statement is more needing improvement. I guess I don't have the proper, how to critique asking for help, but more of general of like making a bold statement of a situation. So I hope that my statement is not being considered as in a negative way. I sure like to hear, Chairman, maybe at the next meeting, let's hear directly from each of the facilities managers or even a cashier what they're experiencing and what although I guess working closely with these individuals, Mr. Taylor, if that is the case, I mean, I think rather than for us to reach out the situation, I think it would be more appropriate for them to say that, okay, Hazashi could oversight and fishing, but it all that and has on the it on happy day needs go at Johan Nigo go a cododo at Ashisa did a corp and Nachico a codo. Each regions are different. Each locations are different. Our social environments are different. Because two of my chapters are closer to Pinyon, with Salana Cottonwood being halfway between Pinyon and Chinle. Then you got many farms and Naslini, closer to the Chinle Bashas. So all of my communities, Kodoij, Akokohit, Alayat, Ehobati, this, Akoko, Dika, Kodosha, Shiki, Hasha, managers, Lindy, all staff, Lindy.
Honorable Begay.
Different corporation.
Honorable Begay. Honorable Begay. You're going in and out. Honorable Begay. Nanda. Any other comments or questions? Mr. Tahi, did we lose Mr. Begay? Honorable Begay?
Chair, he's still on the line, but I think that he is cutting in and out. I'm texting him right now, too.
Okay. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions?
Chairman, can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you. Go ahead, proceed.
I apologize, Chairman. I'm not sure where I've lost everyone, but let me just go ahead and conclude by saying that I think, and I like to hear directly from each of the regional, each of the Basha's manager, and then maybe some staff that could report this, and then directly to Mr. Willie. I like to request, and I'm not sure if a point of privilege is allowable at the committee level. I'd like to receive documentation by the corporation, how have they been helping improving, report to the council, to the RDC in working with these establishments. Social responsibility to reinvestment to the community, taking care of the employees and then the tenants. These facilities, why is it this always they last for only a few months or year and then they're gone again, and then another vacant another from the Basha's Corporation provide a report directly to I'd like to hear directly from the Basha's Corporation, and then I'd like to hear directly, maybe not at the RDC, but at the council, hear directly from Riley, their corporation, what's their vision, what's their intent to help out the Navajo Nation. Request Chairman. So those are the three areas. Report, response in writing, and or report from 4 different entities. The Basha's managers, Basha's Corporation CEO, Riley CEO, and the Native Development. Was it development? At all the areas on the Navajo Nation. Chairman, so that's my formal request. If I need to do it in writing, I'll do that as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. We do, we can take action here today through Mr. Willie as well as Mr. Tahi to coordinate your request as far as providing an in-depth report to the Nabagia Committee. Therefore, through Mr. Willie and Mr. Tahi, the request for documentation can be submitted, Mr. Willie, and ask Riley and Basha to provide a report to Nabagia, and also Ms. Siako from Speaker's Office can coordinate with the Speaker's Office to add that to the next Nabagia Committee meeting to provide those documents. So all three can coordinate and request that report to Nabagia. So, Mr. Willie?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you. We will begin that formal request to both corporations. I will reach out to them myself and then also provide updates to Oversight as we receive information, as well as get some of the presentations gathered in regarding the concerns that Honorable Begay has brought to light here. And I will also coordinate those other meetings or requests for presentations from Tayit Shopping Center, Oversight Management, as well as I would include Navajo Nation Shopping Centers Incorporated, since they also oversee the leases for those locations throughout the Navajo Nation. Mr. Chair.
Thank you for your response, and just be sure to include Ms. Siako from Speaker's Office as well.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, Delegate Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, maybe a recommendation from me would be to have a leadership meeting for a work session with Navajo Nation Shopping Centers, with DED, and bring in Mr. Basha or Riley's. Maybe have a discussion all together with RDC, and if we need to take it to the level of Nabagia, that would be maybe something we could pursue. But let's start with the leadership meeting first and have a discussion, just like what my brother said. Talk to Riley's and see what their vision is, and see how they're going to work, maybe to incorporate the Navajo Nation Basha's brand, and how they're going to work with our Navajo consumers. So just a recommendation on my part, Jim. I don't know what my brother thinks or what my colleagues think, but just a recommendation on our side, on my side, about maybe having or holding that leadership meeting all together and bringing in all the stakeholders at once. Edia, Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland, for that. We can also put that on the agenda for next Wednesday to have a leadership meeting. And as Honorable Begay stated, I'd like to have the regional store managers to provide a report to Oversight as well, so we can work on that, Mr. Tahi. Okay.
Terry got that information, and it'll be on the next RDC agenda.
Thank you. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? None. We'll go ahead and vote to accept the report from Mr. J.T. Willie. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote? Chair, I vote green. Thank you. Honorable Begay?
Chairman Kalen votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Daniels? Green. Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart? Honorable Stewart? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Okay, thank you, Mr. Willie.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes. Number 6 on the agenda, old business, none. Number 7, new business. A, legislation 0214-21, sponsor, Honorable Mark Freeland. Mr. Tahi, could you read this in for the record, please?
Chair, members of RDC, you have legislative summary sheet tracking number 0214-21, date October 7th, 2021. The title of the resolution is Proposed Standing Committee Resolution and Action Relating to Resource and Development Committee, approving the grant of right-of-way to Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc. for the Chishtilta Single Phase 14.4 kV electric power line extension project located on Navajo Nation trust lands in Chishtilta chapter vicinity, McKinley County, New Mexico. Purpose. The purpose of this legislation is to approve the grant of right-of-way to Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc. for a 14.4 kV electric distribution line on, over, and across the Navajo Nation trust land in Chishtilta chapter vicinity, McKinley County, New Mexico. This legislation would waive the consideration. RDC has final authority over this legislation. The sponsor is Honorable Mark A. Freeland. Tracking number is 0214-21. An action relating to Resource and Development Committee approving the grant of right-of-way to Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc. for the Chishtilta Single Phase 14.4 kV electric power line extension project located on Navajo Nation trust lands in Chishtilta chapter vicinity, McKinley County, New Mexico. Be enacted Section 1 authority. Pursuant to 2 NNC Section 501B2, the Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council has authority to grant final approval for all land withdrawals, non-mineral lease permits, licenses, right-of-way, surface easements, and bond requirement on the Navajo lands and unrestricted fee lands. This authority shall include a subleases, modifications, assignments, leaseholding, encumbrments, transfer, renewals, and terminations. Section 2 finding. The Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc., P.O. Box 1087, Grants, New Mexico 87020, has submitted a right-of-way application for renew right-of-way number E-NM-99-2022, a 14.4 kV electric distribution line over and across the Navajo Nation trust line in Chishtilta chapter vicinity, McKinley County, New Mexico. The application requested is attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit D. The terms of conditions document is attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit A. The purpose of the right-of-way is described in map and described attached hereto incorporated herein as Exhibit B. The Grazing Committee, Land Board members of District 16 has identified land users who consent to the use of the land by the Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc. The consent to use Navajo land and the field clearance checklist documented or attached as Exhibit C. D, a waiver of a validation of the right-of-way and waiver of compensation for the 20-year right-of-way is requested. C25 CFR section 169.110A1 and 2 and 3. Exhibit A, the terms of conditions states that the compensation of the 20-year right-of-way is $755,233.06. E, the Resource and Development Committee through resolution number RDC F-08-20 allowed for 100 waiver of right-of-way consideration for nonprofit electric utility companies that provide service to Navajo residents on Navajo trust land in Eastern Navajo Agency. F, the request for right-of-way is located on Navajo trust land in the Eastern Navajo Agency, and Continental Divide is a nonprofit electric company. G, a waiver of the bond insurance and alternative form of security on the part of Continental Divide is requested. H, the environmental study and archaeological clearance, including the finding of non-significant impact, date October 7, 1997, are included as Exhibit E. I, the application for the right-of-way as submitted by Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc. has been reviewed, executive official review process, including review of the Department of Justice, and approved or found significant. See documents including an executive official review document number 009791, Exhibit F. Section 3, approval. A, the Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves the grant of right-of-way to Continental Divide Electric Cooperative, Inc. for a 14.4 kV electric distribution line on and over and across the Navajo Trust land in Chichita Chapter vicinity, McKinley County, New Mexico. The location is more particularly described on the survey map attached hereto as Exhibit B. B, Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby waives validation and waives compensation of 100% of the assessment of $755,233.06 for the right-of-way project for a 20-year term because it has been determined that accepting the agreed upon compensation and waiving validation is in the best interest of the Navajo Nation pursuant to Title 25 CFR Section 169.110. C, the Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby waives the requirement for a bond insurance of alternative forms of security on the part of the grantee based on the termination of the project benefit the Navajo Nation, and such a waiver is in the best interest of the Navajo Nation pursuant to Title 25 CFR Section 169.103 F2. D, the Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves the right-of-way subject to but not limited to the following terms and conditions incorporated herewith and is attached as Exhibit A. E, the Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby authorize the President of the Navajo Nation to execute any and all documents necessary to effect the intent and purpose of this resolution. In closing, you have Exhibit A, which is entitled the Navajo Nation Right-of-Way Terms and Conditions Continental Divide Cooperative, Inc. Grantee, Chichita Single Phase 14.4 kV Electric Power Line Extension. Exhibit B are the maps included. Exhibit C is the field clearance checklist. Hold on till I find Exhibit E. Exhibit E is the environmental studies of no impact, which was dated October 7th, 1977. Exhibit E is attached, which is from the U.S. Department of the Interior. On the no significant study. F is the executive official review, document number 009791, which is dated February 26, 2018. And lastly, you have the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary, which was posted on October 12th, 2021 at 7:20 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended October 17th, 2021. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comments opposing this legislation, and there was no comments and recommendations on this legislation. Chair, that is tracking number 0214-21 read into the record. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second.
Motion, Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Second by second.
Freeland.
Carol.
I'll let my Chase second.
Okay, was that Honorable Vice Chair Walker?
Yes, I second that motion.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, and are there any questions? The Resource and Development Committee has final authority over this legislation, so we'll go ahead and give Honorable Freeland his 20 minutes. Could you identify your agent, Honorable Freeland?
Chairman Nez, I do have our former Honorable Delegate Rosalind John on the line from Churchill chapter. She works there as the administrative staff at this time as well. But and then I don't know if I got anyone from Continental Divide on the line as well. But this legislation was from 2019 as well. So yeah, thank you, Chairman.
Yes, so go ahead. You may proceed.
Okay, thank you, Chantal. This legislation is a request to gain access for rights-of-ways for single-phase power in Churchill chapter. Churchill chapter does fall within the boundaries of Eastern Navajo Agency, and it also falls within the areas of checkerboard as well. So the areas that we're asking for will be just the trust land areas. We have to work with the BIA on allotments and work with other private owners on any private lands or any other areas of lands that this power line will have to cross. We are asking for a renewal of this lease, and Ms. John, if you want to add a little bit more information, if you're on the line.
Ms. John?
Star 6.
Ms. John, if you would press star 6, that'll unmute you.
Oh, yeah, I. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, proceed.
Oh, yeah, I. Resources and Development Committee Chair, Nez. Auto Vice Chair, Vice Chair Walker. This is Rosalind John. I'm the Community Services Coordinator for Churchill chapter. I really appreciate our delegate to sponsor, our delegate Freeland. And so this legislation, we've been working on it for several years, along with Continental Divide. And we have a whole team of chapter employees and chapter staff and elected officials who work very hard to get this legislation to you at this time. We have a whole land base, the largest land base south of Gallup for Churchill chapter. And within our community, we've been working diligently to get power lines to the community membership. And we ran into some challenges, and that was the right-of-way issue. And so Continental Divide and the chapter worked on this legislation to ensure that we have proper right-of-ways because it was affecting our new proposals to hook up more homes. Our community has about 60% without electricity, and so we really need this legislation to be approved. And so I want to say that I just appreciate that you are reviewing it, and hopefully you will approve it. And it's only for the community of Chilchilka chapter. We have neighboring chapters, Valhalla chapter, and Red Rock chapter. all of the land base south of Gallup belonging to Navajo Nation is faced with this right-of-way issue. And also our neighbors to the south, the Pueblo of Zuni, they're also faced with this issue as well. So hopefully we will get Navajo Nation to take a position, and so that we can move forward with projects that are on our table. So with that, President Nez, I really appreciate your time to discuss this, and hopefully the legislation and that you have before you has all of the detailed content included, and that will be pretty much our presentation from our chapter. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. John. Honorable Freeland, anything you would like to add?
Chairman, thank you as well. Chairman Nez, colleagues, RDC no Senegi. Ms. John, thank you for your input and your presentation as well. I think one thing that really caught my attention is what Ms. John presented is that over 60% of her community, or Cha-Cha-Cha chapter, is without electricity, and that's a real stark contrast. And with the other chapters that she mentioned, neighboring chapters, Bahanle Do, Teslachi, Red Rock, those chapters are also in the same situation as well. To the west of Cha-Cha-Cha chapter, I believe, is Lupton, and that's where the boundary where trust land begins. So Lupton is not merely, I know there's some allotments in Lupton, but not merely in the same situation as our chapters on the New Mexico side, Iguilla. So just kind of a contrast and what our people and our chapters and our officials are dealing with. I really appreciate Cha-Cha-Cha chapter, Bahanle, Red Rock, because they're very, they work very diligently on addressing matters like this and working to gain rights of ways and working cohesively with, in this case, Continental Divide Electric Co-op as well, who has been a good partner to our chapters, as well as the funding sources that our chapters are very proactive in gaining assistance from the state of New Mexico, whether that be capital outlay or travel infrastructure fund, or sometimes the bonding measures with our senior centers. So thank you to the state of New Mexico as well for our continued partnership in helping our area, our chapters in New Mexico, our 54 chapters, with assistance in gaining power, water, or in this other case, bathroom additions as well. The basic infrastructure needs, if we can address those matters, as a delegate, I've seen it for myself, and as a delegate, I've been to homes who are lacking these basic needs. And if we can really emphasize that, whether it's through the state funding or, in this case, ARPA funding, we're going to really change some lives and enhance some lives. And COVID was really one of those things that we got hit hard with. And if we had maybe possibly better preparation in basic infrastructure, maybe we wouldn't have as large numbers as we would have. A lot of it was, based on that. So, I just wanted to bring that up and say thank you, and I humbly ask for your consideration and support on approval of this legislation. So, Chairman Nez, thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Freeland, we're still waiting on our burritos too, so just keep that in mind.
Put in your order.
Thank you. Yes, man. I know our people really need electricity and water everywhere. So, honorable members of RDC, any comments or questions? Then, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay? Honorable Begay, text he votes green. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
I'll vote green, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Great.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting, motion carries. If you have, thank you, Honorable Freeland, as well as Ms. John.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues.
Vote B, legislation 0217-21, sponsor Honorable Freeland. Mr. Tahi. Please mute your phone. Ashwater, thank you. Mr. Tai, could you read this in for the record, please?
Chair, you have legislative summary sheet tracking number 0217-21, date October 22nd, 2021, titled the resolution and action relating to Resource and Development Committee and the Navigate Committee supporting the Eastern Navajo Diné against uranium mining and the petition to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights against the United States that states the United States by its acts and omission have contaminated and continue to contaminate natural resources in the Navajo communities of Crown Point Chapter and Church Rock Chapter. The United States has violated petitioners' human rights and breached its obligation under the American Declaration on the Rights and Duties of Man. Purpose. The purpose of this legislation is to support the Eastern Navajo Diné against uranium mining and the petition to the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights against the United States that states the United States by its acts and omission have contaminated and continue to contaminate natural resource in the Navajo communities of Crown Point Chapter and Church Rock Chapter, and the United States has violated the petitioners' human rights and breached its obligation under the American Declaration of the Rights and Duties of Man. Chair Navigate Committee has final authority over this legislation, and its entirety will be read into the record then. Sponsor of this legislation is Mark Freeland. This is the tracking number 0217. Section 1 outlines the authority of this legislation. Section 2 includes its findings. In the finding, there is several articles that have been quoted and cited in the document as well. In addition to it, there is an Exhibit A in the Section 2 of this legislation. In addition, there is an Exhibit B and an Exhibit C. In Section 3 is the approval of this legislation. Chair, attached in the resolution, in the legislation is Exhibit A, which is from the New Mexico Environmental Law Center, which is dated July 19, 2021. In addition is Exhibit B, which is the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights Organization of American States, the petition by the Eastern Navajo Diné against uranium mining, and Mitchell Capitan, Rita Capitan, Christine Smith, Keith Lynn Smith, Keith Smith, and Larry King on the behalf against the United States of America. Exhibit C is a resolution of the Navajo Eastern Agency Council number ENAC-08-2021-014. Chair, you have also the first report, the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary. This legislation was posted on October 22nd, 2021 at 12:50 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended on October 27th, 2021. You have one comment supporting this legislation. That comment comes from Anna Rhonda. You have no comments opposing this legislation. You have no comments or recommendation to this legislation. The comment by Anna Rhonda was sent on Wednesday, October 27th, 2021 by email. Chair, that is legislation number 0217-21 read into the record. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, let's establish a motion and a second. Motion. Honorable
Second.
Daniel, second. Stewart?
Yeah, I'll second, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Freeland. Honorable members of RDC, this legislation also goes to the Navajo Committee. First, I would like to ask, is there any comments or questions on this legislation? I hear none, so honorable members of RDC will go ahead and put it to a vote. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chair, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay. Honorable Begay texts, he votes green. Honorable Daniels.
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland.
Green, Chairman.
Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries for legislation 0217-21. Thank you, Honorable Freeland.
Thank you, colleagues, Resource Development Committee members, my chapter leadership, Mr. Perry from Vicente, Ms. Capitan from Crown Point chapter. We'll have a more thorough discussion at Navajo for gaining an official position. So, Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Next, C, legislation 0218-21. Sponsor, Honorable Raymond Smith, Jr. Honorable Vice Chair Smith, are you on the call, sir?
This is Vice Chair Smith. RDC members of the Navajo Nation Council. I'm on the line. Thank you.
Mr. Tahi, could you read this in for the record, please?
Chair, you have legislative summary sheet tracking number 0218-21. Date is October 25th, 2021. Title of the resolution, an action relating to the Resource and Development, Budget and Finance, and Navajo committees, requesting the U.S. Congress and the U.S. President to approve additional federal funds for the Navajo water projects throughout the Navajo Nation for the benefit of the Navajo people, Navajo chapters, Navajo communities, and all persons residing within the boundaries of the Navajo Nation. Purpose. The purpose of this legislation is to request the U.S. Congress and the United States President to provide additional federal funds for the Navajo water projects throughout the Navajo Nation for the benefit of all Navajo people, Navajo chapters, Navajo communities, and all persons residing within the boundaries of the Navajo Nation. Navajo Committee will have final authority over this legislation, which will run into the record in its entirety. This legislation is sponsored by Honorable Raymond Smith Jr., tracking number 0218-21. In Section 1, it outlines the authorities. In Section 2, indicates its findings, which includes an Exhibit A, the Navajo Nation Water and Wastewater Funding Source compiled by the Environmental Finance Center Network, 2029. Then you have Section 4, the request for additional federal funds for Navajo Nation water projects. Attaches Exhibit A, which is the Navajo Nation Water and Wastewater Funding Source, which was compiled by the Environmental Financial Center Network. This was dated June of 2019. Chair, on the first report of the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary, this legislation was posted on October 25th, 2021 at 4:47 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended October 30th, 2021. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comments opposing this legislation, and there was no comments or recommendation on this legislation. Chair, that is legislation 0218-21 read into the record. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi, for reading that into the record. Honorable members of the Resources and Development Committee, let's have a motion and a second.
A motion, Chairman Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, motion, second by.
Chair, I second.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Thank you. And are there any questions or comments on this legislation? This legislation goes to Navajo. Question? Okay.
Comment.
Okay. Honorable Vice Chair Raymond Smith, you have 20 minutes, sir. Please identify your agents as well.
Gushe, here na should check large doesn't die RDC chair to vice chair Shinai do members and Notnigi Hassan of Dagi yet Apen I don't think the class November I don't what did Shinandada Notnigi I don't not Dagi so ahead now for let me introduce this legislation 0218-21 Che Raymond Smith Jr. the Janito the Nenschlingi the passage in located Chini was Chi on the Lani does it shadow na Kaida Shanella Hota the Nenschlido Bishmas on Ishto Basha Tussa Undo my Todo and had Utsido Kintido see Tod Yajita Shinanisha Shadit Ado Bishmas on they did Sana with I need that so 0218-21. Should agent A had Jason John. I don't know if he's available this morning. Later to the Fort Wingate closure on Rocco out of Zabon. It's on today. Akunda Shay had the tracking number be 0218-21. So I don't know if my agent's on board. He said he would be monitoring, see if he's available this morning. Dishit Hitas Sozagi RDC Ado BNFA Badatnado Kashado Nabikiyati their final authority. This legislation is requesting the U.S. Congress and the U.S. President to approve additional federal funding for the Navajo water projects that Egi Johaisi Hijinaut Dohata Yaligi other Quia Anaha de IHS do the water resources Janan de ko Itanado Aspen Yegi Yaha hit I see to enough life water is life that the ko I didn't know he in 1868 and dated wait data nani the nani kaya ko and ahot when hit nay actually tita hot meat and the 20 yedo that hot the yedo how say 20 hit to close that no da any nani yalinch ke din Washington ko we hear you have the hayat eto they host doje ya she to whole one that data had a kid had energy. They have a lot of water down there. Called Kishan the snow for just Navajo Nation. Called U.S. government Ibiad, U.S. Department of Interior. They Yalinch Kedo IHS and Dave Nisto NTUA the water resources at Agi. Called Exhibit A it shows there's 6 pages. I don't know Finnegy of the deficit that we have regarding the water that we need for the Navajo Nation. The organization, program, purpose of the use of funds and how to apply, and the website, how to contact Tagi. This is for the Navajo Nation water and wastewater funding sources. It was compiled by the Environmental Finance Center Network as of 2019. Deepest Kodia has net dia and later KK Dawit Enigi ko Lana needs indeed Yaligi Daudo Nation and Dadon of Lenigi ko Ehut did Sana Huit Ahinch Kedida The Navajo Nation requests U.S. government and U.S. President to approve additional federal funding throughout the Navajo Nation. This also includes the data Church Rock, Crown Point. Oh, Church Rock though. So they get at that vision data to be equal to data. Korea, the real perkle. Hit toward that uranium is cut on this. So we need to get quality water. We need water. In the house, it was a rainy season. We got moisture for the time being. We need Patos Caston de Bishop Pasapinyedo, Nikelin Pinye, Archit Nachato, Edat Egi, Adolfo, Keda hit anything hit ne, he had La Tadakis that it no, COVID-19 over Hatsu Bahane. Oh, I see Dada Hosian had done his neck on the whole one J. Had 20 where you had, we ate Hashes Tornta, Lanans. So I know that my grandma, but I'll be lean later to twist Jason, she the other band, none hit me. Oh, not how she had to say that Chicago was no, so that's a call, but what else don't they cistern system? Kobakudan was the cistern system, how it depends on the people to haul the water. Called Diamigate for the IHS. And the water resources so that we can get more projects out there. ARPA funds Washington. The IHSA, they're the ones that are supposed to be providing water lines for the Navajo Nation. They're under the Indian Health Services, and they're not supposed to be lobbying for any money to legislation. Chicago, Chateau, Naslade, budget and finance, so they never can get here. So they Washington, they had congresspersons at Egido, U.S. President Lajda Stagi, Kindasagagi, Badal Sosto. This is a statement on behalf of what we're facing. That we have more of our members. They want to retire. They want to go home. They want to live in a house that has running water. I don't know if Jason John's on board. Chairman Nez. Jason, are you on board with us this morning or this afternoon?
Thank you. Mr. Jason John, are you on the call, sir? Mr. John? Press *6 to unmute if you are. I don't believe he's on the call, Honorable Vice Chair Smith.
Can you hear me? This is Jason John.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, Mr. John, go ahead, proceed.
Last year, in 2020, we had updated projects overview for the Navajo Nation, and that was approximately almost $4 billion in need that I had shown in 2020. It did not include items such as cleaning up the Rio Perco. I'm not really sure how that would be done. But in terms of projects, water-related projects, it was close to $4 billion in need. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason, on that behalf of Mahween Sigi. $4 billion you don't need. This is not to clean up the water. It's to explore or to have the IHS and the government to facilitate funding so that we could get quality water. I don't know if there's an aquifer down there or if we could tap into the surface and water rights of that Egi. So those are the things that we're looking forward to. I know that that's another avenue to clean up the water and to get the uranium out and to do that. That's another project on that behalf. But to increase the funding, Iggy, so on what was proposed in this legislation for chapters for our people invaded, thank you, Chair Menez. That's the end of my 20 minutes. I hope I didn't go over.
Biga, thank you for your presentation. You have 10 minutes left. So, Honorable Freeland.
Chairman, thank you. Resource Development Committee members, Mr. My brother, Honorable Smith, and Mr. Jason John, thank you. Just a comment I wanted to say thank you for sponsoring this legislation, Honorable Smith. It's a very important legislation and asking the United States government, but more importantly, Congress, to fulfill trust obligations as well, and to consider that because the majority of our people are still living without running water or electricity or even bathrooms on the Navajo Nation. So I know specifically in my 8 regional chapters, that's a huge concern. It will continue to be a concern of mine as a delegate, knowing that, we are dealing with these situations. And like I mentioned in my previous legislation, if our people did have running water or electricity or even bathrooms, would that make an impact on our COVID numbers, our COVID situation on the nation? Would that have made a difference for us to consider and for us to ponder and for us to think about? If we can prepare now, we don't want to find ourselves in any situation in the future thinking, we had an opportunity to address these matters. Now we have that with ARPA, but we need additional resources as well. We don't want to leave our future generations trying to figure out how come our previous leadership didn't address these matters, or how come they didn't help to get our people running water or electricity or bathrooms. So, I wholeheartedly support your legislation, brother, and we want to thank you for that. And as delegates, our areas, and I think my brother put it best, our regions are very unique and very different. And for my area, the 8 regional, we still need running water, we still need bathrooms, we still need basic, electricity. And then you add the cherry on the top, which is land status, that makes it more complex than anything else. And it's hard when we have to deal with matters of that type. But I'm thankful that in situations where we have trust land or we can work to get these types of rights of ways completed or situated, it makes things a lot easier. So just wanted to mention that, Chairman, and say thank you to Honorable Smith for this legislation and sponsors legislation. So I do support it. Eddie, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable members of RDC, do you have any other comments or questions? Kitchen and then I have a question.
Mr. Chair, this is
we'll go ahead and put Honorable Daniels, go ahead. Honorable Daniels, go ahead. Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. For mute in this this legislation that is before RDC today. This is a good legislation. For the Washington go. It was Arosisonal I K gas on it. So what $18 could over the I see has in so equal in. Yeka at this legislation. The other week, Resources and Development Committee, we were out at Paiute Mesa, Navajo Mountain, out in Dastan Paiute Canyon. We went on top of Paiute Mesa. Vice Chair Smith, when he was a ranger, so on top of Paiute Mesa, there are homes on top of Paiute Mesa. Infrastructures. Yeah, go back now. Tuna Gidea, Bana Alte. I don't know on the very best at sea. I see about that how ye add a teen of any hits in a hot the ajo. So it a yap, I could only that this legislation to the hand so that could all I see could on the Hatam. Not with that field, NATO and I see could on a great dam. In a hundred grade. I see could all that be national. I see John Doll could other me Navajo Nation to average in hot van laid could also null in negate and away 1868 night day down. Nagay demed ice, name his dozen demed ice, now with a nahas crayat ida and aho at hoda ben saho. Nahas ago. I got no I see Kahajo by in the Koshanella Kododam. I support this legislation, Kododam. Thank you for bringing this legislation before RDC and she BNF and also now with she Kododo or she now for nada deal, Nish Kodoso. Also has said let Mr. Chair could accommodate Kodo. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Stewart.
Oh, Shana Chairman, Raymond Smith Jr. and your colleagues, Shana Kato, Shajado, staff, Shmaya Kato, and the and all those listening in this RDC session, this legislation, like my Shana Kat said, I support it as well. And then listening to the presentation, by Yate Tiegi, and then this morning in my planning meeting with Red Lake, the wildlife department came in and they wanted to do a presentation, they're requesting for support resolutions for the same thing, water across the nation. They'll know for that legislation that we have regarding emergency legislation for water. Of course, now they're requesting for support from the chapters to do support resolutions. And then listening also this week, off and on, whenever I get a chance. Yesterday morning was like that, or the other morning was like that with President Biden talking about his initiatives to go towards green energy, and how he made a statement to the UN and on how the US is going to get back involved again, and issues like that. And it's not only on Navajo, it's across the world. And we see different drought scenarios across the world are happening. And I think these are areas that, we as RDC, we're paying attention to, and we're trying to figure out what we can do. How can we help our Diné people out here with water? What other ways can we get water? How else can we work with the current rivers or with the water? We have different technologies coming out also. There was a presentation not too long ago, I believe it was RDC or some other presentation I listened in on, where they have technology now that we're using the sun and the air to make water just for a solar home to be used, and how that would be filtered through. So issues like that and presentations like that we listen to, these are things that we share. And even a couple of weeks ago there was one with livestock as well, and the wells, and that was there at the fairgrounds, where we had a presenter come in and using solar, how they can also, how we have a couple of ranchers out in Basha area, eastern area, with my uncle, Mr. Clinton Jim, and also some other ranchers out there that have that water system now set up using solar, and how they use a main water source, but they have sub water outlets as well for their livestock, and how that's going to be possibly producing water not only for livestock but also for human consumption as well. So they were looking at, and anything related that we can help and try to ease the living of our Dene people is what we're looking for. And that's part of this legislation. It's another step to another avenue. As you watch a tree grow, you look at a tree, you see all these branches that we're trying to do that, make all these branches on just one tree to make sure that we have this tree of water that will supply the nation's needs with water. So and also energy as well. So thank you for that. For this time, Shania, Chairman, I just wanted to make that comment and say that we support this legislation.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Honorable members of RDC, any other comments or questions? Chair. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, go ahead. Yes, thank you, Chairman Nez. Although committee members, although sponsor of the legislation that's before RDC, Honorable Smith, your agent. The advocacy papers, advocacy documents here could be of great use to the Navajo Nation. Navajo pipeline, water pipeline project. For that is loop to Delcon, that water project. Funded the Dalia, initial date, infrastructure, the main water main infrastructure, as we know, just getting that water from point A to point B. To get water from the main water main to other areas, other communities and homes and farms and businesses, that remains to be seen, remains to be identified. What financial resources we can tap into for that. Although it's in the future. With this document here, we can use as advocacy, advocating for future projects. So just speaking for the area that I represent in Western Agency. Of course, we are here for all of Navajo Nation, all the agencies, all 110 chapters. Regular program funding that U.S. government gives out every year to Indian tribes and as well as Navajo, with the same pot of money or the same usual funding, because it's program dollars, nothing beyond that. Because of the vastness of our great land, our beautiful land, homeland. I see in Kaya. For Tona, Lozigi, Yo Ilido, Jabajinahunta, Ishibeta. At the end, I don't think we would trade the land for anything at all. But the Kaya, Baka had been peso, baggy, or change of a peso. I don't done the ko ati na hoti sagi e pandit e ati bi I ka bi in just to akwa de hot da che akwa ki ben na che da a shin ye gon ki dis do de to ye go ni hinez ka ti de na ni hun ye gi it's hat ado kade yat na do tlis ado le ben hada hodil to ya e bi ga handa di inda di ni ko dan re di I ka ad na lo na di ka cho ha no kade ar pa mani na na hada and ana belachen ada idinal so ski e ana belachi okay di e ko tra go e ishi bandit na ta o she ko ni ta to nin so nan ta ko be ken ni ka ji she to le ado shin nasna des na ko ada ba na da ti she chairman ko showing charge. Thank you.
Oh, I'll be the honorable members of RDC. Any other comments or questions? None. Let me go back to the sponsor, Honorable Vice Chair Raymond Smith Jr.
Yeah, Nana, Dashna, that large Dasantagi Che, Chairman Nezo, the Shinai, Vice Chair Walker. Here now because the Sosito, Nache, Yisiat, Hani Hote, Yidne, I see you now Hote, about Ado. Asan is not in the way, when there's not, but not say Hudan, how she, hit, ran hin hit lodo, dan, Hudadis, Beninati, Sana with Ahi, and hit that of Soziki, big hat of Sozi, and Johnny, Chicken John, did Benina, they Washington, they, it's to be yards now, a call. Quarters Casey Zito dog, which hit Nepa, Bajo Baya, Chanela Hunan Lake Padres Mesa, Keda, and all a what Spaz and Echo. Should on later, Kati Yado, she should not, what I and the what Keda had, Rado, Shina, Shitzilia.
Honorable Vice Chair Smith, are you done? Honorable Vice Chair Smith? I believe we lost him. Shananta, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. I believe we spoke on this. It goes to Budget and Finance as well as Navajo committees. So, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay, he also votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniels? Honorable Daniels? Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels? We have a vote of 4 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Smith.
Oh, yeah, my phone call dropped. So, yeah, so thank you very, very much for beginning with Outlaw. Yeah, appreciate it. Going in.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. Next, legislation 0219-21. Sponsor, Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Mr. Tahi, could you read this in for the record, please? Yes, Honorable Daniels.
Mr. Chair, did you get my vote on the last legislation?
We didn't hear you. How do you vote?
Okay, I vote green.
Okay, thank you. Before we move forward, there's no motion yet, so we will make the correction. Honorable Herman Daniels votes green. The vote changes from a vote of 5 in favor to 0 opposed and chair not voting. Thank you. Legislation 0219-21. Mr. Tahi, could you read this in for the record?
The chair members of RDC, you have legislative summary sheet tracking number 0219-21. Date October 15th, 2021. Title of the resolution: a proposed standing committee resolution and action relating to resource and development, approving the Navajo Division of Transportation 2021 Long Range Transportation Plan to be submitted to the United States Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration. Purpose: the purpose of this resolution, if passed, is to approve and recommend it to the United States Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration, and the Navajo Nation 2021 Long Range Transportation Plan. Resource and Development has final authority over this legislation. This legislation is sponsored by Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Tracking number 0219-21, an action relating to Resource and Development, approving the Navajo Nation Division of Transportation 2021 Long Range Transportation Plan to be submitted to United States Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration. Be enacted. Section 1, Authority. A, pursuant to 2 NNC Section 500C6, the Resource and Development Committee has the oversight over matters including planning and coordinating of roads and transportation activities of the Navajo Nation. B, pursuant to 2 NNC Section 501C, the Resource and Development Committee has oversight over authority over the Navajo Division of Transportation. Section 2, findings. A, the Navajo Nation Division of Transportation submits the Long Range Transportation Plan to United States Department of Transportation Federal Highway Administration. B, pursuant to 25 CFR Section 170-1410A, the purpose of the Long Range Transportation Plan is to clearly demonstrate a tribe's transportation need and to fulfill tribal goals by developing strategies to meet these needs. These strategies should address future land use, economic development, traffic demand, public safety, and health and social needs. C, the 2021 Long Range Transportation Plan is attached hereto as Exhibit A. Section 3, approval of submission of the Navajo Long Range Transportation Plan. The Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves the Navajo Division of Transportation 2021 Long Range Transportation Plan to be submitted to United States Department of Transportation, Federal Highway Administration, attached as Exhibit A. Attached as Exhibit A, the draft Navajo Nation 2021 Long Range Transportation Plan. In addition, you have the first report, a post the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary, posted October 28, 2021 at 9:20 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended November 2nd, 2021. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comments opposing this legislation, and there was no comments or recommendation on this legislation. Chair members of RDC, that is legislation number 0219-21 read into the record. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, this legislation, RDC has final authority. So let's establish a motion and a second.
Freeland?
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Second.
Stewart?
Honorable Stewart. Thank you. I believe there's an amendment to this legislation, but we'll give Honorable Vice Chair Walker 20 minutes, sir. And identify your agent.
Thank you, Chairman. Although committee members, thank you, Mr. Tahi, for the reading of the legislation into the record. Although motioning party, though, legislation that's before you, long-range transportation plan for year 2021. Although the transportation plan would be, this long-range transportation plan will be given to the federal government from the Navajo Nation. And it's a planning process, planning document for moving forward to develop a multi-modal transportation investment for Navajo Nation. Although if we had railway, we would mention that. Although air transportation, short range and long range transportation strategies, improvement strategies, long range transportation plan. The agent in that Leanne Roy, agent at Edo the teacher. She could also such a although a few weeks ago we had a work session regarding this long-range transportation plan. Oh, the legislation although a RDC but that's on not so not a big question and legislation question, Chairman, we can allow the agent time to do the presentation on the legislation. Thank you, Chair. Back to you.
Thank you. Mr. Silversmith?
Good morning. This is Leanne Roy sitting in for Division Director Silversmith.
Go ahead, Ms. Roy.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon for everyone. Honorable Chair Rick Nez, Vice Chair Thomas Walker, and Honorable RDC members and all guests online. My name is Leanne Roy, Department Manager with Navajo Division of Transportation. I will be presenting the Navajo Nation 2021 Long Range Transportation Plan. And again, thank you for Mr. Thomas Walker Jr. for being our sponsor. Again, thank you for allowing Navajo Division of Transportation to present again this time. This is an update of the 2016 Long Range Transportation Plan to be submitted to Federal Highway Administration. So we will be changing 2016 to 2021 Long Range Transportation Plan. On October 12, 2021, Navajo Division of Transportation presented the overall PowerPoint presentation. So I will keep this to minimal to respect your time and many other items on the agenda. The Navajo Nation 2021 Long Range Transportation Plan is a multi-year planning process to research, draft, and develop a path forward for multimodal transportation investments within the Navajo Nation. The Navajo Nation Long Range Transportation Plan defines a set of goals to provide funding guidance in order to improve overall transportation system conditions and direct funding towards the type of investments that are needed most. The Long Range Transportation Plan also identifies short and long range transportation improvement strategies that will address current and future transportation needs according to tribal, federal, and state government policies. As required by the statute of Federal Register 25 CFR Part 170, the Navajo Nation Long Range Transportation Plan is necessary because it serves as the defining vision for the region's transportation needs, which Navajo Division of Transportation submits for approval every 5 years through our Oversight Committee, Resource and Development Committee. The Long Range Transportation Plan continually remains proactive as it is updated again every 5 years. Multimodal transportation spending includes investing in our infrastructure and strategies to improve mobility for those that drive, ride a bicycle, walk on our sidewalks, fly, use our transits, and ship freights. This long-range transportation plan was developed through a collaborative process to assist with establishing goals and objectives, analyzing transportation system conditions, performing needs analysis, setting priorities, establishing funding plans for implementation by improving and measuring system level based on performance to take care of our existing transportation system. The transportation system, as we all know, is in great need of repair and maintenance. This will assist in focusing on the greatest need first, increasing efficiency in managing and focusing on planning, design, and construction. So thank you again for this opportunity to present. This concludes our long-range transportation plan. Chair Rick Nez, thank you again, and back to you.
Thank you, Ms. Roy. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, would you like to add anything else?
Chairman Doe, committee members, as a sponsor of this legislation, I respectfully ask for your support on this document. This would be the nation's plan as indicated and as presented by Mr. Roy. I think the Kendi idea is thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable members of RDC, there is an amendment language, a brief language that was sent by our attorney, Ms. Khan. Perhaps committee members, we could have Mr. Tahi read the amendment language and then we'll entertain a motion in a second. Mr. Tahi?
The chair members of RDC, Ms. Khan did email the amendment to you. The amendment legislation number 0219 reads as follows. 1, exchange Exhibit A with a new Exhibit A. Quote, 2021 Navajo Nation Long Range Transportation Plan, unquote. A hard copy has been given to Mr. Rodney Tahi, Resource and Development Legislative Advisor. An e-copy is available for review at this link. https://drive-google.com/file/d/1qp-u6s/jg/v2mg8 dfw-p/view?UPS equals sharing. Number 2, renumber or reletter succeeding paragraph sections and or exhibits accordingly if necessary, and this amendment shall supersede inconsistent language contained in and other committee amendments, which shall be conformed to the intent or language of this amendment. The Office of Legislative Service will notice to the sponsor of the legislation is hereby authorized to make necessary grammatical changes. Chair, that is the amendment read into the record. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, that is Amendment 1. Would like to have a motion. A second.
I'll motion, Chair Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, thank you. Second.
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Any comments, questions on Amendment 1? None. We'll go ahead and put it to a vote. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chair, I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green. They just texted in. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Back to the main motion. Any comments, questions? Then, yeah, we'll go ahead and put it to a vote. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green, according to his text message. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Yes, Chairman Dole, committee members, and the agent, as well as INDOT, Mr. Silversmith and staff. Thank you for putting the legislation together, and then, of course, considering the legislation and then approving it. INDOT Ms. Roy, the agent, staff, Shama, Ms. Khan.
Thank you. Next, legislation 0220-21. Sponsor, Honorable Mark Freeland. Mr. Tahi, could you read this in for the record, please?
Chair, members of RDC, you have legislative summary sheet tracking number 0220-21. Date is September 17th, 2021. Title of the resolution, Proposed Standing Committee Resolution, an action relating to resource and development, approving the grant of right-of-way to Paradox Midstream LLC for Paradox Midstream LLC Montezuma Creek North Pipeline located on Navajo Nation Trust land in Aneth Chapter and Red Mesa Chapter vicinity, San Juan County, Utah. Purpose. The purpose of this legislation is to approve the grant of right-of-way to Paradox Midstream LLC for continuing operation and maintenance of a 6.58-inch gas pipeline, Paradox Midstream LLC, Montezuma Creek North Pipeline on Navajo Nation Trust land in Aneth Chapter and Red Mesa Chapter vicinity, San Juan County, Utah. RDC has final authority over this legislation. The sponsor of the legislation is Honorable Mark A. Freeland. Tracking number 0220-21. An action relating to resource and development, approving the grant of right-of-way to Paradox Midstream LLC for Paradox Midstream LLC Montezuma Creek North Pipeline located on Navajo Nation Trust land in Aneth Chapter and Red Mesa Chapter vicinity, San Juan County, Utah. To be enacted, Section 1, Authority A. Pursuant to 2 NNC Section 500, the Resource and Development Committee has established as a standing committee of the Navajo Nation Council. B, pursuant to 2 NNC Section 501, B2, the Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council has authority to grant final approval for all lands withdrawals, non-mineral leases, permit licenses, right-of-way, surface easements, and bond requirement on Navajo Nation lands and unrestricted fee lands. This authority shall include subleasers, modifications, assignments, leaseholding, encumbrments, transfer, renewals, and termination. Section 2, finding. A, Paradox Midstream LLC, Houston, Texas, has submitted a right-of-way application for the continued operations of maintenance of a 6.58-inch gas pipeline, Paradox Midstream LLC, Montezuma Creek North Pipeline. This right-of-way is on, over, and across the Navajo Nation trust land in Nth Chapter and Red Mesa Chapter, San Juan County, Utah. B, the terms and condition of the right-of-way are attached as Exhibit A. C, the proposed right-of-way is described in map and description attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit B. D, Navajo Nation Heritage Program grants conditional approval in October 8th, 2020. Memorandum is attached as Exhibit C. E, the Historic Preservation Department Cultural Resource Inventory Determination Form provided as notification to proceed date January 2021-7, which is attached as Exhibit D. F, the Biological Resource Compliance Form date October 8th, 2020 is attached as Exhibit E. G, the environmental assessment on behalf of Paradox Mainstream LLC, Montezuma North Pipeline, data October 9th, 2015, revised September 28th, 2020, prepared by Permits West, is attached as Exhibit F. H, the right-of-way application request is attached hereto and incorporated herein as Exhibit G. I, the Paradox Mainstream LLC agent, asks the Resource and Development Committee to waive an appraisal requirement for the Paradox Mainstream LLC right-of-way. The letter is attached as Exhibit H. J, the application of the right-of-way as submitted by Paradox Mainstream LLC has been reviewed, executive official review process, including review by the Department of Justice and quote approved, unquote, or found approved, quote, significant, unquote. See documents included in executive official review document number 015290 attached as Exhibit I. Section 3, approval. A, the Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves the grant of right-of-way to Paradox Midstream LLC for continued operation and maintenance of a 6.58-inch gas pipeline, Paradox Mainstream LLC, Montezuma Creek North Pipeline on Navajo Nation Trust Land in Nth Chapter and Red Mesa Chapter vicinity, San Juan County, Utah. The location is more particular. Described on the survey map, hereto is attached as Exhibit B. B, the Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby approves the right-of-way subject to, but not limited to, the following terms and conditions incorporated herein and attached as Exhibit A. C, the Resource and Development Committee of the Navajo Nation Council hereby authorize the President of the Navajo Nation to execute any and all documents necessary to effect the intent and purpose of this resolution. Attaches Exhibit A, which is the Navajo Nation right-of-way terms and conditions. Attaches Exhibit B, which is the Paradox Mainstream LLC Montezuma Creek North Pipeline maps. Attaches Exhibit C, a letter from that's dated October 8th, 2020, regarding the Montezuma Creek Pipeline right-of-way grant. Exhibit D is the Cultural Resource Inventory Determination Form. Exhibit E is the Biological Resource Compliance Form, Navajo Nation Department of Fish and Wildlife, P.O. Box 1480, Windrock, Arizona 86515-1480, which is the NNDF review number 15 PERM 112. Exhibit F is environmental assessment on behalf of Paradox LLC, Montezuma Creek North Pipeline, Navajo Tribal Trust and Navajo Indian Allotment 6333080, San Juan County, Utah, dated October 9, 2015. revised September 28th, 2020. Attached is Exhibit G, the United States Department of the Interior right-of-way application. H is a letter dated March 9th, 2021 from Permits West, Inc., providing permits for land users. Exhibit I is Executive Official Review, document number 015290, date issue 10/14/20. And last, you have the first report, the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internet Public Review Summary, which was posted on October 28th, 2020 at 9:25 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended November 2nd, 2020. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comment opposing this legislation, and there was no comments or recommendation on this legislation. Chair, that is legislation 20220-21 read into the record. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second. Motion?
Carol, motion.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, thank you. Second by?
Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. I understand there's an amendment to this legislation as well. So, Honorable Freeland, you have 20 minutes to present and identify your agent as well.
Thank you. Chairman Ado Santa, colleagues, Resource Development Committee members, Lasenigi, staff, thank you, Mr. Tahi, for reading in this legislation. This legislation that is presented to you, Shanta, is renewal for a 10-year lease renewal for right-of-way terms and conditions. On Exhibit A, it does explain the renewal process, but it also explains the issue or the amount that would be vested. There is a revenue source from this lease. The source is listed on there on Exhibit A under number 2 for consideration. I don't know if anyone from Paradox Midstream is on the line. If you can you please let us know if you are? And I know I did hear Ms. Jeremiah on the line as well, knowing that there was proper proper processes of the environmental, archaeological, and biological being approved by the Navajo Nation. So, I don't know if anyone from Paradox is on the line.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. We did have Scott from Paradox on the call this morning. Scott, are you still on the call?
Yes, I'm still on the call.
Okay.
Okay.
You may proceed with your presentation if you would like.
No, just wanted to say thank you for taking the time this morning to review and vote on our legislation today. We're basically just renewing an existing pipeline for the purpose of, flowing gas north off of the reservation into the Lisbon Valley gas plant. And if Jeanette with Permits West would like to speak, on our behalf and answer any questions, she is more than welcome to.
Thank you, sir.
Scott.
Back to you, Honorable Freeland.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know if Ms. Jeremiah wanted to weigh in.
Okay.
Ms.
Jeremiah? Ms. Jeremiah?
Yes, good morning or good afternoon. The Minerals Department does support this right of way. As was mentioned before, it will allow the transportation of the Navajo Nation's conventional gas, as in particular helium, from our lands up to the Lisbon Valley plant. And that plant is located about 40 miles south of Moab, Utah. And this particular pipeline segment is one of several where right-of-ways will be seeking approval from RDC. And the whole purpose is to connect all of these segments up to this Lisbon Valley plant for the processing of the gas, and then the eventual market of that gas. In the past, our gas was processed at the San Juan River plant, and that has been shut down. In fact, it's being disassembled as we speak, from what I understand. So, as I said, the Minerals Department does support this right-of-way. We based the consideration, we started with a market price per rod, and it's adjusted by the estimated throughput, the length of the pipeline, and the size of the pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Chairman. Back to you, sponsor, Honorable Freeland.
Thank you, Chairman Otto, Shinatai, colleagues. Ms. Jeremiah, thank you, as well as Scott, thank you. Shinatai, this is just a formality of request to renewal a current pipeline lease. I do ask for your favorable consideration and support of this legislation. So, Chairman, I'll end there and leave it stand for any comments or questions. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Mr. Tahi, could you read that Amendment 1 language prepared by our attorney, Ms. Khan, and then we'll entertain a motion in a second.
Chair, members of RDC, I just before I read into the record, I sent an email to Ms. Khan indicating that there's a typo in the legislation on page 2 of 3E. On number 11, it says January 2021-7. So hopefully she has that corrected so I can read that also into the record. I'll read into the record amendment legislation 02.
Mr. Tahi?
Yes.
Mr. Tahi, before you move forward, which page and line number did you say?
Page, the legislation on it says page 2 of 3.
Okay.
Letter E, line 11. It has January 2021-7.
Okay. Thank you for catching that. So go ahead and read the amendment language, sir.
Okay. Amendment legislation 0220-21, page 2, line 23, insert new paragraphs J and K as follows. J, the Code of Federal Regulations 2F, CFR section 169-110A states how much monetary compensation must be paid of the right-of-way over or across the tribal land. It states, A right-of-way over or across tribal land may allow for any payment amount negotiated by the tribe, and we will defer to the tribe and not require any validation if the tribe submits a tribal authorization expense stating that it, 1, has agreed upon compensation satisfactory to the tribe, 2, waives validation, and 3, has determined that accepting such agreed upon compensation and waiving validation is in the best interest. K, the Navajo Nation has negotiated with Paradox Mainstream LLC the monetary compensation to be paid for the requested right-of-way. The Navajo Nation expressly states that it has agreed upon compensation and that is satisfactory to the tribe, waives validation, and has determined that accepting such agreed upon compensation and waiving validation is in the best interest of the Navajo Nation. 2, renumber or relettering succeeding paragraphs, sections, and exhibits accordingly if necessary. This amendment shall supersede inconsistent language contained in and any other committee amendments, which shall be conformed to the intent or language of this amendment. The Office of Legislative Services will notify to the sponsors of this legislation is hereby authorized to make necessary programmatical changes. Chair, that is the amendment number 1 read into the record.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of RDC, let's have a motion and a second for Amendment 1.
Chair, I motion.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Second by?
Stewart.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Any questions on Amendment 1? If none, we'll put it to a vote. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chair, I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay, he texted in, he's voting green. Honorable Daniels? Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries for Amendment 1. Back to the main motion. Any comments or questions, committee members? I hear none. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Vote green. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
I'll vote green, Chairman.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries. Thank you, Honorable Freeland.
Thank you, Santa, colleagues.
Moving down, F, approving a leadership meeting with Navajo Abandoned Mine Lands Reclamation Department on 2 fund management plans for the recommended date of Thursday, December 9th. The date is already on there at 9 a.m. And let's have a motion and a second. Thursday is on a Thursday. Usually the second Thursday is Nabakiyat meeting. Perhaps what we can do is change this date, not the date, but the time to 8 o'clock. And because usually the second Thursday and the fourth Thursday is Nabakiyat at 10 o'clock. So we would like to have a motion and the motioning party if you would ask for 8 o'clock. Motion?
Freeland, 8 a.m. request, please. Thank you.
Honorable Freeland, motion as well as request to change the time to 8 o'clock. Honorable Freeland?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Stewart will second. Stewart.
Honorable Stewart, thank you. Any comments or questions on this leadership meeting for Thursday, December 9th at 8 o'clock? None? Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Honorable Freeland?
Green, Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. G, approving a leadership meeting with Zifyichin Naloshi Be'in Organization, BIA, DNR, the DOA, Department of Agriculture, and Land Department on the limited 10 sheep units. That will be the leadership meeting for that subject. So the recommended date of Friday, December 10th at 9 a.m. I believe there's nothing on the 10th, so I'd like to have a motion and a second.
Freeland.
Thank you. Second.
Stewart.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart and Honorable Freeland. Any comments, questions? None? Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. Shananda, one other subject we didn't add, and there's a request to suspend the floor rules by Honorable Wilson Stewart, Jr.
Oh, Janai, Chairman, as we recall, last week, I think it was, or 2 weeks ago, you had mentioned that there was a grazing officials meeting at Twin Arrows, and I did get an invite as well from the District 18, and I know that's in December. I believe the date, I was trying for the email, I believe the date was in December 14 and 15, or 13 and 14, but I wanted to ask to suspend the floor rules, Shana, Chairman, to see if we can add that onto our one of our meeting sites to attend that meeting with our district grazing officials out there at Twin Arrows. That's why I'm asking to suspend the floor rules, Shania, Chairman, and colleague Shania.
Thank you. It is on the 14th and 15th, the district grazing officials training at Twin Arrows Navajo Casino Resort. We would like to add this. There's a motion to suspend the floor rules to add this to the agenda. Motion by Honorable Stewart. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Thank you. Any comments, questions? I hear none. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green. He just texted. Honorable Daniels? Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Honorable Freeland? Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Honorable Stewart?
Green.
We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Chair not voting. Motion carries. We've added one more subject to the agenda. Under H, it will be the district grazing officials training by the Department of Agriculture, Division of Natural Resources, and the training will take place on December 14 and 15 at Twin Arrows Navajo Casino Resort. Honorable colleagues, let's establish a motion and a second to approve this, to have the honorable members of RDC attend. Motion?
Chair, I motion.
Thank you. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, second by.
Freeland Daniels, second.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Any comments, questions? None. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniels?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. And we're at the close of our meeting. Any other announcements? I hear none. Motion to adjourn.
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, thank you. Second.
I second.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, thank you. Any comments, questions? None. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Green. I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Begay votes green according to his text message. Honorable Daniels?
I vote green.
Thank you. Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Honorable Freeland?
Green, Chairman.
Thank you. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
Thank you, committee members. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. We are officially adjourned at 1:18 p.m. Committee members and staff, please travel safely to Twin Arrows for our work session with telecommunications regulations commissioners and the office itself Thursday and Friday. So be safe. Hakbona.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you everybody for calling in. Have a good day. God bless and be safe.
Hakbona.
Thank you.
Welcome.